Hello and welcome to the channel of Hashaliak once again. I trust that God is blessing you, and today is the 24th of November 2024. 24/11/24. Okay, I would like to share a couple of things with you from Scripture, words of warning and words of wisdom. So I want to begin by turning to Genesis chapter 13. And in Genesis chapter 13, you've got a situation where Abraham is traveling with his nephew Lot, and they're traveling through the land, and it eventually reaches a stage where they had been sharing land together, but it was not big enough for the both of them. Both parties were starting to argue, and it was causing some issues. So I want to pick up the story in verse 5 of chapter 13, the Complete Jewish Study Bible. Lot, who was travelling with Abram at the time, it wasn't quite Abraham, it's Abram, also had flocks, herds, and tents. But the land could not support their living together, because their possessions were too great for them to remain together. Moreover, quarrelling arose between Abram's and Lot's herdsmen. The Canaanite and the Perizzite were then living in the land. Abram said to Lot, "Please, let's not have quarrelling between me and you, or between my herdsmen and yours, since we are kinsmen. Isn't the whole land there in front of you? Please separate yourself from me. If you go to the left, I will go to the right. If you go to the right, I will go to the left." Lot looked up and saw that the whole plain of the Jordan was well watered everywhere, before Adonai destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, like the garden of Adonai, like the land of Egypt in the direction of Zoar. So Lot chose all the plain of the Jordan for himself, and Lot travelled eastward. Thus they separated themselves from each other. Avram lived in the land of Canaan, and Lot lived in the cities of the plain, setting up his tent near Sodom. Now the men of Sodom were evil, committing great sins against Adonai. Adonai said to Avram after Lot had moved away from him, "Look all around you from where you are to the north, the south, the east, and the west. All the land you see I will give to you and your descendants and to your seed forever. And I will make your descendants as numerous as the specks of dust on the earth, so that if a person can count the specks of dust on the earth, then your descendants can be counted. Get up and walk through the length and breadth of the land, because I will give it to you." Avram moved his tent and came to live by the oaks of Mamre, which are in Hebron, or the sacred oaks of Mamre, as some versions render it. The sacred oaks of Mamre, which are in Hebron. There he built an altar to Adonai. Right, just briefly about the oaks of Mamre. If you read, especially Jewish commentary, you'll find they talk a lot about one particular oak tree, which was sacred. And this is the tree where it is believed that the three divine beings, basically God and a couple of angels, appeared to Abraham. But whatever the case is, it's considered a sacred area, and Abraham or Abram moves his tents there to live in this sacred space, and he builds an altar there to God, to Adonai. But look back to where Sodom decides to live. Remember, they were having issues, Abraham and Lot. The land wasn't big enough for them, and they'd come to this decision. And Abraham was very gracious, and he said to Lot, he says, "Look, you decide what you want. If you go to the left, I'll go to the right. If you go to the right, I'll go to the left." He gave the decision to Lot, And Lot looked and he saw that the land looked really good, and he decided that he wanted to take that particular piece of land. And it says Lot lived in the cities of the plain, setting up his tent near Sodom. So he sets up his tent not far from Sodom, but he's not in Sodom. He's living in the plains, and there's other cities there. But it goes on to say the men of Sodom were evil, committing great sins against Adonai. And this may have been one of the reasons why Lot decided to set up his tents outside of Sodom, not inside Sodom. It's almost like he's fascinated by what is going on in Sodom, but he understands it is a wicked and evil place, and so he doesn't set up camp inside the city. But he's pretty close. It's like he's keeping an eye on the place. He can see the bright lights of Sodom. He can see all the activity and the things that are going on, but he understands it's wicked, and he's not going to go in there because Lot's a righteous man. And we're actually even told this in Scripture. Lot's righteous soul was vexed when he saw what was happening in Sodom. So he doesn't go all the way. He's in the plain. Maybe we could relate it to you and I. We understand Las Vegas is a sinful place, a wicked, wicked city, like many cities in the earth, but Las Vegas is a wicked place. And so we decide to build a house out in the desert, but we can see the bright lights of Las Vegas. Now, we don't build our house in Las Vegas because we know it's a wicked city and we don't want to be caught up in what's going on in there. And so we're maybe fascinated by it, but we've got our house here and Las Vegas is over there. And we can see all the bright lights. And we know all the things that are going on there. The gambling, the pretty ladies, the drinking, drugs, violence, all sorts of wickedness. But because we're righteous people, you won't catch us living in there. We'll just stay back here and keep an eye on things. We'll keep an eye on those lights and all the activity going on in Sodom, going on in Las Vegas. But we're God's people, and you will definitely not catch us living in there. That's for sure. No way Lot is going to be living in Sodom. He camps up outside Sodom. He's a wise man. In Genesis chapter 14, a situation arises between a number of kings. There's a bit of a battle takes place. A lot of turmoil, mayhem, confusion, fighting, people getting killed, and all the rest of it. But in the midst of all this fighting, I'd like to just pick up from Genesis 14, verse 10. Now the Sodom valley was full of clay pits, and when the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fled, some fell into them, while the rest fled to the hills. So this is the ongoing battle. The victors took all the possessions of Sodom and Gomorrah and all their food supply, and they left. But as they left, they took Lot, Avram's brother's son, and his possessions, since he was living in Sodom. I'll just set up my camp outside Sodom. I'll keep an eye on things. The bright lights are pretty, and there's a lot of exciting things happening in Sodom. But I'm not going in there because I know it's a wicked place. I'm not going to Las Vegas. You won't catch me there. I can tell you that right now. The bright lights, very alluring. Maybe Maybe, maybe I should just head on across and get a closer look as to what's happening in Sodom. See it close up. Maybe I should just head into Vegas and I'll just slip into one of the casinos and, you know, nae harm in throwing a few chips on the table and grabbing the odd drink from the pretty ladies as they go around with the trays. Maybe I'll have 2 or 3 drinks. I might extend it to 5 or 6. Wow, they ladies. It's very pretty ladies there. I like gambling. I might dabble in the odd drug. I might decide to stay the night. Yeah, the bright lights are certainly very alluring. I'll tell you what, in fact, I think I'll just set up base in Sodom. I think I'll just live in Las Vegas. What's the point of living outside, having to travel in? I'll just live in the midst of Vegas and Sodom. Bright lights, excitement, very alluring. Verse 13 of chapter 14. Someone who had escaped came and told Abram the Hebrew, who was living by the oaks of Mamre the Emorite, brother of Eshcol and brother of Aner, all of them allies of Abram. Someone escaped, and they went and told Abram. And where was Abram living? Someone who had escaped came and told Abram the Hebrew, who was living by the oaks of Mamre. Abram hadn't moved. He'd stayed by the sacred oaks of Mamre. And the story goes on to tell us that Abram put a team together and eventually rescued Lot from his predicament. See, friends, Revelation 18:4 says, "Come out of her, my people, lest you participate in her sins." The bright lights of Sodom look very alluring and very appealing, very exciting. The bright lights of Vegas look very appealing, very exciting. Might just want a bit of the action. The bright lights of Babylon look very exciting. Offers many, many things that you can't get in the plains. Sodom, Vegas, Babylon. That's where the action is. Very alluring. See, sometimes we can convince ourselves that we've got the discipline to be able to get close enough to these places, but we won't be affected by it. We won't be pulled in to these places. Lot started off on the outskirts, and before you knew it, he's in the middle of a battle and he's being kidnapped, taken prisoner with all his family. But he's living in the middle of Sodom. Abraham remains steadfast by the sacred oaks of Mamre, where he built an altar to the Lord. Come out of her, my people. Stay away from the bright lights of Sodom. Stay away from the bright lights of Las Vegas, London. You name it, whatever country you live in, you just put the city in there. They've all got bright lights and they've all got things to offer. But often what they've got to offer leads to death. There's a way it looks right into a man, but in the end, it leads to death. That's the warning, friends. Stay away from Babylon, stay away from Vegas, stay away from London, stay away from Sodom. And by that I mean the wicked places. Head to the oaks of Mamre, the sacred oaks of Mamre, and build an altar there. to the Lord, an altar where you can sacrifice, give God a sacrifice of praise. Stay in His Word and stay close to Him in these days because things are shaken up a lot. The heat is building, friends. Stay away from the wicked places and head to the sacred oaks of Mamre. There's your warning and there's your encouragement, words of wisdom. God bless you. Until next time.